Imagine you wake up in the middle of the night, look out your window and realize something is missing. The moon, the glowing celestial body that's always been there, is gone. It's not just a bad dream. The moon has actually drifted away from Earth, and not just a little, but drastically, overnight. What would happen if the moon suddenly disappeared like that? First, let's talk about how the moon is moving away from Earth, and how it's been happening slowly for millions of years. Every year, the moon drifts about 1.5 inches farther from Earth. That's not a huge distance, but it adds up over time. This might seem like something far off in the future, but if the moon were to drastically leave Earth in a short period of time, the effects would be immediate and intense. The moon plays a massive role in Earth's natural systems. It's the main reason we have tides, for one. The gravitational pull of the moon on Earth causes the ocean tides to rise and fall. The closer the moon is, the stronger the pull, but if it moved away quickly, we'd see a huge change in the tides. Without the moon's gravitational pull, Earth's tides would become much weaker. The high and low tides we're used to would become barely noticeable. This would dramatically affect coastal ecosystems, especially in areas where marine life depends on the constant flow of the tides. Animals that rely on the tidal movements to breed, find food, or migrate could struggle to survive. In addition to the impact on tides, the moon's sudden departure would affect Earth's rotation. Right now, the moon helps to slow down Earth's spinning, keeping the planet's rotation at a consistent pace. Without the moon, Earth would start spinning faster. This might sound like a good thing, but it would mean that days would get shorter. Imagine trying to adjust to a day that's only 10 hours long. It would be incredibly difficult for life on Earth to adapt to such drastic changes in a short time. Plus, the absence of the moon's gravitational pull would cause Earth's rotation to become more erratic, leading to even more instability. But there's more. The moon also helps to stabilize the tilt of Earth's axis. This tilt is what causes the changing seasons, and without the moon, Earth's tilt could become more unpredictable. Over time, this would result in extreme shifts in climate. There could be periods of intense cold, followed by unbearable heat. The stability we take for granted in the weather patterns would be shattered, making life incredibly difficult to sustain. As you can see, the moon's role in stabilizing Earth's environment is huge. If it were to drift away drastically overnight, the effects would be immediate and catastrophic. The tides would weaken, days would shorten, and our planet's climate would become unstable. But these are just the beginning of the problems we would face. In the next part, we'll dive deeper into how these changes would affect life on Earth and what could happen to our planet if the moon continued to drift further away. Now that we've seen what would happen if the moon disappeared overnight, let's explore how these changes would ripple through Earth's environment and what impact they would have on life. One of the most immediate effects would be the loss of the stabilizing influence the moon has on Earth's axial tilt. Earth's axis, which is currently tilted at about 23.5 degrees, is responsible for the changing seasons. This tilt keeps the planet's climate relatively stable and allows for the diverse ecosystems we have today. Without the moon, the Earth's axial tilt could start to wobble, shifting between extremes. Over time, this would lead to wild and unpredictable seasons. Some parts of the world could experience scorching heat for extended periods, while others could face ice ages. These sudden and extreme changes would make it difficult for most forms of life to survive, as plants and animals would struggle to adapt to such dramatic shifts in climate. But the moon's absence wouldn't only affect the weather, the oceans would also be heavily impacted. The moon's gravitational pull is what creates the tides, and without it, Earth's oceans would behave very differently. Right now, we have regular, predictable tides, high tides and low tides that are caused by the moon's pull. Without this force, those tides would almost vanish. This would be devastating for the coastal ecosystems that rely on these regular changes. Coral reefs, estuaries, and beaches are all shaped by tidal forces, and without them, many species of marine life could disappear. The changes to the tides would also lead to the erosion of coastlines. Areas that were once protected by regular tidal movements would see a loss of land, with beaches and shores being washed away. But the impacts don't stop there. The moon also has a key role in regulating the length of our days. While the moon is slowly drifting away from Earth, it actually has the opposite effect on our planet's rotation. The moon helps to slow Earth's spin over time. Without it, Earth's rotation would start to speed up. This could mean shorter days, perhaps just 10 hours long or even less. Imagine how strange it would feel to experience such a dramatic change in the length of a day. Plants and animals have evolved to live in a rhythm tied to the Earth's current 24-hour cycle. With days becoming shorter, Life forms would be thrown off balance. The natural processes that depend on the timing of day and night, like flowering plants, animal migration, and human sleep cycles, would be disrupted. Another consequence of the moon's absence would be the loss of its protective role. The moon helps to shield Earth from space debris. Its gravity has a kind of shielding effect, deflecting or capturing small asteroids and comets that might otherwise impact Earth. Without the moon, Earth would become much more vulnerable to collisions with space objects. The risk of asteroid impacts would increase, which could lead to more frequent and larger impacts on our planet. The larger the asteroid, the more catastrophic the effect. We could see massive craters, fires, and even the potential for a mass extinction event if a large enough asteroid struck Earth. These changes would all happen over time, but they would significantly alter life on Earth. The loss of the moon would throw off the delicate balance that has allowed life to thrive. It's clear that without the moon, our planet would face unpredictable climate shifts, disappearing coastlines, shorter days, and a higher risk of catastrophic space impacts. While the effects would take time to unfold, the question remains, could humanity adapt to these changes, or would it become too difficult to survive on a moonless Earth? Next part, we'll take a closer look at how this moonless world could impact not just nature, but humanity itself. Would we be able to survive the dramatic changes, or would our planet become uninhabitable? As we imagine a moonless world, it's crucial to consider how humans would cope with these drastic changes. The loss of the moon would affect not only the environment, but also our everyday lives in ways we might not immediately think about. Our civilization relies heavily on the natural rhythms of Earth, and with the moon gone, those rhythms would no longer be the same. One of the first major challenges would be the shift in how we measure time. Right now, we track time based on the Earth's rotation and the cycle of the moon. The moon's influence on Earth's tides and rotation plays a role in keeping our calendar and daily schedules predictable. With the moon's absence, Earth's rotation would start to speed up, shortening the length of a day. This might seem like a minor change, but it would throw off everything from work schedules to agriculture. Farming, in particular, depends on the consistent cycles of day and night. Without the steady rhythm of the moon's influence, crops might not grow as they once did. Plants that rely on the 24-hour cycle would have to adapt to a much shorter day, and that's no simple task. This could lead to crop failures, food shortages, and an uncertain future for global agriculture. Humans, too, would have to adjust to the new length of the day. Our bodies are finely tuned to a 24-hour cycle known as the circadian rhythm. This rhythm governs everything from sleep patterns to hormone production. Shorter days would disrupt this natural rhythm, leading to sleep disorders, fatigue, and increased stress. Over time, we would likely try to adjust, but the change could take generations. Even with technology and artificial light, the biological impact would be profound, and our overall health could suffer. Another unexpected effect would be the loss of the moon's impact on human culture and psychology. Throughout history, the moon has played a central role in our stories, myths, and traditions. From ancient cultures to modern times, the moon has been a symbol of everything from love and mystery to time and fate. Without it, the psychological impact on humanity could be more significant than we realize. The moon's absence might leave a void in our collective consciousness, affecting everything from art to religion. People might begin to feel an existential emptiness, as the night sky would no longer feature that familiar calming glow. Imagine staring up at the sky, night after night, and seeing nothing where the moon once was. It could lead to a loss of connection to the cosmos, and possibly even a deeper sense of isolation. The absence of the moon would also affect human navigation. For centuries, sailors have used the moon, along with the stars, to guide them across the oceans. Without the moon, navigation by natural means would become much more difficult. Though we rely on technology now, the moon has always been a reliable fixture in the night sky, guiding travelers and explorers. The sudden disappearance of this celestial body would leave a vast empty space in the sky, making it more difficult for people to orient themselves in unfamiliar places, particularly during the night. The way we understand the passage of time would also be altered. Many ancient cultures used lunar calendars, which rely on the phases of the moon to track the months. These calendars would no longer be useful, forcing humanity to adapt and come up with entirely new systems to measure time. The moon's absence would be felt in our celebrations, holidays, and the way we organize society. Festivals like Easter, which are based on the lunar cycle, would lose their connection to the moon, and entire cultural traditions could change or disappear. It might seem like a small thing, but the loss of such a deeply ingrained symbol of time would affect society in ways that are hard to predict. Humanity's technological capabilities would be tested in this moonless world. While we have the technology to survive extreme environmental conditions, the global disruptions caused by the loss of the moon could overwhelm even the most advanced systems. Agricultural and health systems would face new challenges that we aren't currently prepared for. With extreme weather events becoming more frequent due to the instability of Earth's axis, infrastructure would need to be adapted to deal with the unpredictable climate. We would also need to develop new ways to protect against the increasing risks from space debris, as the moon's absence would leave us more vulnerable to asteroid impacts. The potential for devastating impacts from space could push us to further explore space technology and asteroid defense systems, but the cost of these endeavors would be enormous. As we can see, the loss of the moon would lead to profound changes for humanity. From agriculture and health to culture and technology, our lives would be forever altered. The absence of the moon would create a world that feels unfamiliar, where the natural rhythms that have shaped human existence for centuries no longer apply. But the question remains, could we adapt to this new world? Would humanity be able to survive without the moon, or would the changes be too overwhelming to handle? In the next part, we'll explore the long-term effects of a moonless Earth and how life as we know it could evolve, or struggle to survive, in this drastically altered world. In this moonless world, the long-term survival of life on Earth would be one of the most pressing concerns. With the moon's stabilizing influence completely gone, Earth's future would become increasingly uncertain. While some species might adapt to the new environment, the effects of the moon's departure would ripple through ecosystems, and the survival of life on Earth would face serious challenges. First, let's consider the impact on the planet's climate. The moon plays a key role in stabilizing Earth's axial tilt, preventing drastic fluctuations in the planet's climate over long periods of time. Without the moon, Earth's axis would become more unstable. Over thousands of years, this instability could cause significant changes in global temperatures and seasons. We might experience extreme shifts in climate, where some regions become much hotter while others grow colder. This would lead to new and unpredictable weather patterns, making agriculture, food production, and the basic foundations of society much harder to maintain. Some areas could become inhospitable, forcing large-scale migrations of humans and animals in search of more livable climates. This shift in climate would likely cause massive disruptions in ecosystems. Plants and animals have evolved in ways that depend on relatively stable climate conditions. If temperatures were to fluctuate drastically, many species might not be able to survive. The loss of certain species could cause cascading effects throughout ecosystems, where the extinction of one species triggers a chain reaction that impacts others. For example, without the moon's influence on the tides, ocean currents would change, affecting marine life and ecosystems that depend on consistent water temperatures and nutrient levels. Species that rely on predictable weather patterns, such as migratory birds, could face difficulties in finding the right habitats. In this new world, Earth's biodiversity would be severely threatened. In terms of human survival, the challenges would be immense. The immediate effects on agriculture would be catastrophic. As mentioned earlier, the shifting day length and disrupted circadian rhythms would create chaos in farming systems. Crops that rely on a 24-hour cycle of day and night would struggle to grow in a world where days are constantly changing. This would lead to widespread food shortages, as farmers would not be able to produce enough food to sustain the global population. With unpredictable weather patterns and changes in rainfall, irrigation systems would fail, and many regions could face droughts or floods. The future of global agriculture would need to be reimagined to deal with the new hostile environment. Human health would also be at risk. With the loss of the moon's gravitational influence, the Earth's crust would become more unstable. Without the moon's stabilizing effect, we might experience an increase in seismic activity such as earthquakes and volcanic eruptions. These events could cause widespread damage to infrastructure and threaten entire communities. The health of the population would also be affected by the lack of stable sleep cycles. As our circadian rhythms become disrupted, sleep disorders would become more common and stress levels would rise. Over time, these health issues could weaken the overall resilience of humanity, making it harder to cope with the challenges ahead. In the long run, the disappearance of the moon could also lead to the eventual destabilization of Earth's orbit. Without the moon's gravitational influence, Earth would become more vulnerable to asteroid impacts. These impacts, while rare, could have catastrophic effects on life. The moon has long acted as a shield for Earth, absorbing some of the blows from space debris that would otherwise strike our planet. With the moon gone, Earth would be more exposed to the dangers of space. This increased risk of asteroid impacts would make the Earth a more dangerous place to live, further complicating humanity's survival. Despite these challenges, life on Earth might continue in some form. Over thousands of years, certain species could adapt to the new conditions, while others might evolve to thrive in the moonless world. However, for humanity, this new world would be incredibly harsh. Survival would depend on our ability to adapt quickly to the changing environment and find ways to maintain food production, health, and stability in the face of constant upheaval. We would likely need to turn to technology to solve many of these problems, from developing new ways to produce food to building infrastructure capable of withstanding extreme weather and seismic activity. In conclusion, the moon's departure from Earth would have far-reaching consequences for life on our planet. While some species might adapt, humanity would face a long, difficult struggle to survive. Climate shifts, agricultural breakdowns, health issues, and the increased risk of asteroid impacts would all combine to create a world that is much less hospitable than the one we know today. Our ability to survive in such a world would depend on how quickly we could adapt and how well we could use technology to counteract the challenges that arise. Ultimately, the loss of the moon would reshape Earth in ways we can't fully predict, leaving us with a stark reminder of how interconnected our world is with the celestial forces that govern it.